Hi everybody, I recently had to head to Toronto for a training seminar that my travel agency was holding, and I haven't been to one in quite a while, so I said I'm going to this one, and it's just in Toronto. It's about 4 hours down the road from Ottawa, but I said to myself, I don't feel like driving that way in my car. I don't feel like spending $1,000 each way on a plane ticket just to go 4 hours down the road. I know. Why don't I take the train? So yeah, I booked a Via Rail business class train ticket there and back. Now, in US dollars, for most of you out there, it'd be about $410 or so. It was about 550 Canadian for both ways. And this includes a meal on board, free Wi-Fi while you're traveling, as well as a lounge, a business class lounge. And I said, okay, wider seats, more comfortable traveling. I can get some work done while I'm going. Great. On board I go. So I arrived as a frequent flyer, as somebody who's in the air a lot. I know you got to get to that airport pretty quick sometimes because the lines can be huge, right? Except one thing. There's no real security in train stations. There's no bag check. There's nothing to really do unless you have oversized bags. The train bags just go on the train. You carry them with you, especially in business class. So I got there about an hour early. There was nobody there, like hardly anybody in the entire terminal was there. I was all by myself. And so I just walked around a little bit. I checked things out. So here I am at the train station. It is eerily quiet. I'm not used to traveling with very little noise going on. It is now about 7:35 and my train leaves at 8:35, so I'm used to arriving really early for flights. Apparently you don't have to arrive real early for the train. At all. I kind of love these old train models they have here. Look at that big boy right there. Nice. Then I said to myself, hey, wait a minute, I have business class, so isn't there a lounge someplace here in Ottawa? And I said, okay, let's go in and check it out. And I walked in, and again, I was the only person in the place. So they do have a little business lounge here with some TVs. You see the trains just outside there. And I'm not sure, but is there coffee here? Yep. Places to make coffee, some juices, and stuff like that. I think I'm going to have an orange juice. Now, one of the things they did when I came in is they scanned my ticket and they asked me what flight I was on. And they made a note that they will come in and let me know when my train is boarding. I don't have to really pay too much attention to it, even though there are places in here that have the trains up and everything. But yeah, a little bit quieter area if it gets busy. Quite nice. And I got some juice. So yeah, as I mentioned, when you go in, they scan your ticket. So you're checked in when they scan your ticket. And then they come out and greet you, say, Mr. Terrace, the train is boarding now. We went outside and there were people lined up getting ready to go on the train, and we got to go first. Because business class, right? So there was no checking. They just escorted us up. Train 1, there you are, on you go. And I walked in and it was very comfortable. And I preferred my first seat than my second seat. The first seat I got, I was like a regular seat. I had 2 seats, one side by side, and in front of me there was a 4 seat, so facing each other. But it felt more like, you know, you're on a plane where you're facing forward and the people in front of you, there's another seat, you bring the tray down in front of you, that kind of thing. While being a tighter fit than my second one, it was less awkward. It's less awkward to have somebody sitting beside you, say, in the seat next to you, than a person directly in front of you facing you for 5 hours while you're flying. Even if you're on your computer, the other person's face is like right there. I did find that awkward. I don't necessarily like that part of it, unless you're traveling with somebody that you know, which I was not. So on my trip home, I wasn't able to film too much because there was a gentleman sitting right there in front of me. And I found it also awkward to film on a train compared to like on a cruise ship. Cruise ship, you can get away and you can find places that people aren't like 2 inches away from you, and you're not interrupting their conversations. There's places you can go, there's ways to do it. You're not bothering people. And I really felt like I would bother people if I just brought my phone out and said, "Hi, it's Don, how are you doing?" I didn't want to do that on a train. I didn't want to disturb people. Although I don't think I would have disturbed the 4 ladies in front of me. They did not stop talking the entire trip. They were having a great time. They were talking about friends. They were talking about love interests. They were talking about business. They were just having a good time, and they were loud. And we could hear them. They were laughing and everything. Nothing wrong with that. They had a great time. So I don't know if they would even notice me taking out my phone like this at all. It was really, really interesting. But they did serve us a meal. Now, because it was so early for us, we had a quiche and some fresh fruit and a roll. It was what I would consider airline food, right? Not the best, just something, here you go. It'll hit. But they offered drinks as well, coffee and tea. We can have that included in our fare as well. Plus, what I liked was the free Wi-Fi. I was able to sit down, get some work done, and there is a trick to this now. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a trick. I was trying to sign in, and I kept getting, "Cannot reach this site, cannot reach this site." I was just trying simple things like Air Canada, couldn't reach the site. Netflix, couldn't reach the site. Trying to get into Walt Disney World website, couldn't get into the site. And I was going, well, yes, I can get into my email and I can search pictures if I want, things like that, or news stories, but I can't actually get into anything that would be a streaming or YouTube. I couldn't even get into YouTube. Nothing would play. And then I remembered my secret weapon. And one of my secret weapons, I tell everybody out there that, yes, I have a sponsor. This isn't sponsored. What I'm telling you right now is not sponsored, but I do have a sponsor out there, Private Internet Access, one of the companies I use when I'm traveling, because I want to make sure I have as much protection from my online information when I travel as possible. And guess what? I signed into my internet access, set myself up back in Ottawa, and I can now access Netflix. I can now access the Air Canada website. I can do everything just by hooking up to my VPN on my train. So yeah, if you ever run into that problem and you have a VPN, use your VPN. And by the way, if you travel a lot, you should have a VPN. There you go. Not sponsored. See? Not sponsored. When I use something, I tell you. And here's one of the perfect examples of me using it. Now, on the trip there, I did enjoy the scenery. It's nice. You know, the train makes that sound while you're going. It can actually put you to sleep in a bit, except you do get jostled a lot. A lot of times I was like sitting here like this, and all of a sudden we hit this like little turn, and you're like this, and you go, oh, well, that was pretty severe. And what makes it hard is if, say, you're operating your computer and your mouse, and you're trying to click on something, and all of a sudden your hand is going, you can't put your mouse on the icon you're trying to click. it made it a little hard to try and open emails and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's still a lot more relaxing than driving yourself. So I did enjoy that. And then on the way back, I got in a seat that gave me more room. I like the fact that both sides you can lift up the arms, opens it up more. You're also not right up against the window. There's actually a little table beside you so even if you're more of a fluffy person, you're not leaning up against the wall and then sticking out on the other side. You have room beside your seat also, which was great. The only thing that made it a little tight is the table in front of you. There's a table for 2 people because I was facing somebody, and it makes it a little tight, but they did have an area in the front of that table that you can flip up if you need be for just a little bit extra room. It's like 3-4 inches more of a table you can get rid of. Although it makes it a little harder when they come and serve food if that is flipped up, because it now makes your table unlevel. But it's still a good idea because if people need it, it gives you a little bit more extra room, like I said. And I did enjoy traveling by train. My train was on time. It was comfortable. The food was okay. On the way back, it was lunch. So they did serve a little bit of pasta. Now, where they were serving was at one end, and they worked their way down, and I was the last passenger. I had the very last seat on the train. And when they came to me, when they started, they had 3 choices. When they got to me, they had the one. We have pasta left. Do you want the pasta? Luckily, I did want the pasta. So yes, I was okay with that. But just to be warning, you want to be near the front of the train when you're booking these things if you have a meal included, because you get first choice. And that's also a flying tip, by the way. When I fly where a meal is included, I try and get the front seats, not the 3, like usually for instance, premium economy will normally have 3 rows worth of premium economy seats. Well, I always get the first one because they're the first one to get offered the food. And if they run out, you're stuck with whatever's left over. So a little bit of tip. But the airlines don't run out as much as I saw that the train ran out of everything else but the pasta. Also, both places had a business lounge. Union Station's was big. I really liked Union Station. It's full of history, right? It's one of those old train stations with the stone inlays and the ceiling, the window ceiling. It was just really nice, full of history and everything. And the lounge was quite large and comfortable. Now, what they don't serve in the lounges on business class in the train, I noticed in both places, they had apples. And that was basically the only food you could get. You know, when you go to a business class lounge or a first class lounge for flights, you have offerings of food. There's a buffet of some sort there, snacks, etc. Well, they had no food at either time. So I was there in the morning and I was there in the afternoon. And neither time did they have any food out there except some apples. So just a little bit of a caution. They did have coffee, tea, juices. There was a bar of sorts in the lounge in Toronto, the bigger one. So yeah, all in all, I would say I would do this again for short trips like that. Heading to Toronto, the Blue Jays play there, and I'm a Blue Jays fan. So yeah, maybe I'd go and take in a couple ball games this summer. Take my son down. He's a big baseball fan too. We'll go down, check out some games at the Sky Dome, and take the train back. Much more relaxing than driving and fighting traffic and things like that, and not nearly as expensive as taking a flight. So I thought it was a pretty good alternative. Now, if you're coming into Canada and you're arriving at a small place like Quebec City, as far as flights are concerned, and you're thinking, well, maybe I'll take the train to Montreal or take the train to Toronto and get more flights out of those areas and maybe visit a little bit more of Canada, well, you might want to consider a business class ticket just for that little extra comfort. It's not a whole lot more than a regular ticket, maybe 50% more, which is far less than what you would pay for first class on an airfare ticket compared to economy, right? An economy airfare ticket could be $350. The business class could be $3,000, $4,000. There's that big a difference. But on the train, it's not that bad. So yeah, would I do it again? Yeah, I probably will.